is Real People, Real Matters with Diana Tulchinsky. My first guest is Kathleen McCarthy. Kathleen, tell me where you grew up in the Chicagoland area.
Well, I grew up in Northbrook.
Wow.
I was in Northbrook and went to high school at Glenview North and lived there until I was married in '85 and moved to Glenview, and I've been there ever since.
Where did you get your undergraduate degree from?
I went to Texas Christian, TCU, in Fort Worth, Texas. Go Frogs.
Oh, nice. And what was your major in that?
Well, at TCU I majored in deaf education rehabilitation, which was basically courses in training and teaching with the hearing impaired community.
Nice. How long did it take you to learn sign language?
Well, I started teaching myself sign language in the 5th grade. I was at Maple Junior High in District 30, and they took a few kids out of the math class to help with the hearing impaired preschool that was located at Maple. And I came home that night and informed my family that I was going to be a teacher of the deaf. And I think they were all a little taken back, like, what? Where did this come from? And at that point, I picked up the Helen Keller book and taught myself sign language and the alphabet and never looked back.
How did it help you in high school and university, like learning the American Sign Language?
Actually, not even so much helping me while I was in college or high school knowing it, but just knowing that that was the direction I was going to take so I could relax with what I knew I wanted to do, which was teach the hearing impaired and somehow be involved with that community.
And how long were you working as an interpreter for?
Well, I taught school after I graduated at the John Power Center, which is located in Vernon Hills. Prior to that, it was all the satellite schools from Special Education District of Lake County. But I started interpreting immediately. I was, my senior year in high school, I had a OB/GYN who asked me if I would help him deliver a baby for a deaf couple.
Wow.
And I said absolutely, and not knowing exactly what I was getting into at the time, but went in with her when she was in active labor, and she was signing to me questions that she had for the doctor, and then her husband would come in and ask, and Dr. James Eggers actually was the doctor from Glenview, and he and I communicated with the parents, and it was amazing. I think the comfort it brought her, just having been a mom and delivering and not being able to have questions answered or be understanding what was happening would have been pretty challenging. So that was my first kind of big interpreting, and it just sealed the deal that that's what I was going to do.
How long were you working as a teacher for in the deaf environment?
Well, for a long time I've been in the community helping, but I taught school for 5 years until I had my own children, and then I was a stay-at-home mom.
Great.
And taught my kids sign language. And I think I'd mentioned this to you previously. My kids knew sign language before they could speak.
Oh, great.
So when they were babies, they could tell me if they were finished, if they needed more, if they wanted milk, a lot sooner than they could verbalize what they needed. And I had been working with their pediatrician on how this was working and how they were doing it, and you know, why it was successful. And it was really wonderful. And all three can still sign.
Oh,
and they
like
still
the
sign.
brain forms and everything like that.
Yeah. And now I have 4 grandchildren, but I have a 7, 5, and 2-year-old, and they all sign. So it's actually kind of been a nice trickle-down effect.
And so you transitioned from the deaf interpretation to physically fit.
Yes.
Tell me, how did that transition go?
Well, it was fantastic. I was always working out and always trying to stay healthy and fit, and I was doing all kinds of things. From running to weightlifting, and I was at the North Suburban YMCA, and one of the instructors there said to me, hey, you're kind of a natural at this. Why don't you consider teaching? And that was it. So then I went back to school and classes and got certification in group fitness, personal training, pre and postnatal, just kind of completely filled up my background on health and fitness.
Tell me, like, what is your standard diet you follow?
Well, for me personally, I think the most important thing, and I tell my clients and my friends, is a diet that you can follow, one that is sustainable. So there's always going to be a fad that's gone on forever. I remember eating grapefruits in college, thinking that was going to be the thing. And what I found out was that it's really what you're going to do, and to keep in mind what you're eating. And a simple way, really simple way, is a journal. Now, not a whole complicated journal and not even your calorie count, but what are you eating? And I use the acronym DIET instead of diet as what I can't eat. I think of, did I eat today? Question mark. What did I eat today? Did I have a solid breakfast? Did I have, healthy lunch? Did I have enough fiber? Or was I eating ice cream and popcorn and all the things that maybe shouldn't? And I think women and men are more likely to stick to health and fitness diet if they're not told they can't. Don't eat that. Don't ever eat that. It just doesn't work. It's not sustainable.
How important it is to abstain from like white rice, carbs, sugar, white bread?
Yeah, well, I have a quote that I say that everyone who knows me will laugh. And my favorite, I have two quotes, but my favorite one is, if it's white, do not bite. And that makes life easy, because I really think it's healthier that we're not eating white bread, white rice, the white grains, the pastas, things like that. As a culture here in our United States, it's too much. And there's too much of a good thing. So if it's white, do not bite has served me well to help people understand to stay with your whole grains, your higher fiber, your complex carbs, as opposed to the ones that are pretty easy. And sugar, I can't think of one thing nice to say about sugar.
Like, how does like the white rice, the white carbs go to sugar, then it goes to diabetes too, or diabetes?
Yeah, it's a direct hit on our insulin release. And so when we have too much, we trigger a reaction in our body that is an insulin based. And often some of the people who struggle the most with losing weight or maintaining weight actually are people who think that diet pops are going to actually be a better spot for them. They'll lose weight, they won't gain any weight. And it's still the sugar, it's the sweetness, it's the way the insulin in our body wants to hold on to fat. And then it becomes a buildup, and you have all kinds of complications from that. Visceral fat, those types of fat are different. And I really think that, I feel like sugar is probably the worst drug in the world. But
can you tell me, do you know anything about metabolic syndrome and insulin resistance? Like
a little bit, yeah.
You get the carbs back.
Exactly. When you're burning weight or burning fat, you are going to burn the fat part at the end. So it's the hardest part to get rid of. So if your metabolic rate is increased by things like activity, healthy foods, movement, mobility, exercise of any sort where you're not sitting down for long periods of time, you will increase the metabolic rate. And that in turn will help burn fat. Fat's not an easy thing to lose. So it's one of those things that if you are dedicated to doing it, and you can do simple changes in your diet. You don't have to change everything you do to be a healthier person. And the most important thing on that is just movement, and any type of movement, which my next favorite quote is, motion is lotion. And I feel like when people move, they have they're less apt to have chronic joint or crepitous joints and arthritis, just mobility, just moving.
Have you found those Beachbody commercials and those they want weight resistance, but is it too difficult to for women and men that are kind of out of shape or they're seniors? Have you seen somebody doing overdoing the exercise?
Absolutely, and you absolutely can overdo exercise. You absolutely can. There is nothing that no age comes around, no magic number where you have to stop working out and putting in extra effort or adding weight to your workouts. With my women in particular, I like to have some resistance. Even my seniors, I'm really lucky. I teach a class at the senior center at the Glenview Park District, and it's just an amazing group of women and men. And when I say, okay, everybody, I need you to get about 3 to 5 pounds, and they look at me like, wait, what? We haven't done that. There's no magic number where you can't do that. What's more important is form.
Oh, the form.
The form, because if someone is guiding you and showing you the correct way to curl, take your bicep curl, those movements, you get bone density increase, you get fat burn, it helps increase longevity, and the studies are coming out now that exercise with weights and resistance actually helps prevent dementia.
Oh, nice.
So I think that's a pretty good gamble to be able to do that.
What is like functioning?
HIIT is high intensity training, and it is a really nice way to burn fat. But high intensity training is really only a 45-second to a minute segment. So let's say I'm doing an aerobic class. I did one this morning, actually, a virtual class with people. So for 35 to 45 seconds, you might be doing jumping jacks if your body's capable of it. You might just be doing side taps, but you're doing it as hard and fast as you can for 45 seconds. Then you go into active recovery, and that's where you burn the fat. Not where I'm doing my jumping jacks, but where I'm actively recovering. Now my metabolic system is working, it's kicking in, and I'm burning fat. High intensity or HIIT training is I think it's a really useful way to work out and be smart and safe when you're working out.
I was just wondering, how does like resistant movement, like either like toning or just exercise, help with heart disease?
Well, again, you have a muscle. Your heart is a muscle, and just like any other part of your body, if you don't keep that heart healthy, it will get sick. It won't be as strong. And when you're exercising, anything that's good for your heart is good for your brain.
Yes.
So remember, when you're working out and you're doing cardiovascular, you are increasing the health of your heart. You're allowing for a better beats per minute, which in the long run helps with longevity. And it's also increasing your brain health. So the heart is so key to working out. Really, for a lot of people, that should be the main reason you're working out. It shouldn't be about what size pants you're wearing or what the scale is telling you. It should be, how healthy do I feel? I have friends who are very, very fit that aren't a size 2. And I have some friends that are a size 2 that I would challenge on a fitness level any day with some of my fuller figured or larger clients. So I definitely feel like that is a really key component to working out, is how strong and how healthy is your heart.
Like, what do you see like in keto and those like fad diets? Like, it's not keto is not a fad diet, but then like there's so many diet pills along, like green tea extract and Garcinia, Carcoma, and all that.
Right. Well, again, it's a fad. 90% of those things are a fad. You can't stay on keto forever.
No.
You really can't. I mean, if you do the research and you look at all those diets, and believe me, I've done the research on these. I do quite a bit through Cleveland Clinic and a lot of the Eating Well and Nutrition Action, and none of them are sustainable for a length of time. If a doctor came to you and said, I will give you this pill and you're going to lose 20 pounds, we'd all take it. We wouldn't even think about it, right? But if a doctor comes to you and says, I want you walking 150 minutes a week for your health, you'll fight it. People are like, I don't know, how am I going to get? It's ridiculous that we have to make exercise a punishment, where indeed it's the greatest gift, and you don't have to be running a marathon to get the benefits. So I always tell people, what would you put in your beautiful car for gasoline? You'd put the best you could. So in your beautiful body, move it the best you can.
Have you seen like any gastric sleeves? Like, I know like a lot of doctors like promote like surgery, but have you seen like any like problems with gastric sleeve?
You know, I've only known maybe 1 or 2 people who have actually gone to that level, and both were recommended by a doctor to do so, and both have been successful. They really have, but it alters your total way of life.
Psychology too.
Yes, and they had to go through great counseling before they were even to that level, and they also had to lose, I don't remember the exact amount, but in order to get it, they were still asked to lose a pretty significant amount of weight before that gastric sleeve was even going to be considered. So I don't know that I would want the the reason I was losing weight would be to have this. I think I'd want to lose weight for a healthy body, for a healthy life.
How important is body mass index? Like a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, my mom was big boned and now I'm big boned, and I can really measure everything precisely now.
Yeah. Well, the BMI, or body mass index, is used a lot, but that range from years ago to currently has even changed about what makes you obese. It's a lot lower number than it used to be. So I don't know what would have changed that and why our culture did do that, but there are people who do have little bones. I happen to be one of them. I have little bones. And my body mass index, I'm also very muscular. It's kind of askew. It's not really, I wouldn't call it that I would be an underweight person by any means. And yet on my BMI, I'm borderline. So I don't know, I don't hold a lot of weight with a BMI unless it's extreme. So I don't know. I think that, again, it goes back to how do you feel in your jeans? How do you feel in your bathing suit? How did you feel on that last year's winter coat? Is it still fitting you? I like things that are realistic approach to health and fitness. I don't like to get caught up in too many of the numbers or the statistics.
And tell me, like, do you have any successful stories about people that were like in the wheelchair or couldn't get out of their house?
Not so much wheelchair, but I have a 90-year-old client who is a practicing psychiatrist who I've been training for 12 years. And he's remarkable. And he practices what I have preached and now he preached. It was his balance that was quite the challenge. And balance isn't something that once you lose it, you don't get it back. You know, you can really reestablish a solid balance. And it's something that I worked with him. I would call his very much a success story. I also had a gentleman who was type 2 diabetes, and I put him in a walking program, and 6 months into the walking program, he was down 18 pounds, went back in, and his numbers all dropped. So those are facts. Those are just realistic things that we can do that can be quantitative and get a very positive, feel good about your workout. So those are just two, I'd say, the balance and the type 2. I've had lots of people who say they've never felt better.
Oh, nice.
I'm a huge proponent of posture. So anyone who knows me will be, always looks and is like standing up and getting their shoulders back, and it's almost like they see me coming and they change their posture. But I'm a big proponent of healthy posture because that's just so good for just even your internal organs. And
How do you like Pilates reformer? Like, they really came back. Some people think, oh, it's just calisthenics and just a machine.
yeah,
But how do you know about the whole system of posture equals I guess self-confidence?
well, self-confidence obviously is huge. But I just had this question this morning about Pilates, which is interesting. If you have a good Pilates instructor, and I do know some, Pilates is excellent. The problem is when you get into a group mat Pilates class, Pilates can be very dangerous on your lower back. People with lower back issues who are trying to get stronger cores to compensate for healthy back, done incorrectly, just like any exercise. Again, I go back to form over reps or form over weight. It can be a little challenging.
Do you see women swinging those
Kettlebells.
Kettlebells 15, 18 pounds that you see on television? What type of accidents can you get into when your core goes and then
That's a really good question because I do like kettlebell work. But again, back to safety. You can get out of your comfort zone when you're working out. Just don't ever get out of your safety zone. So if you drop a kettlebell between your knees and you're going to raise it and flip it over your head, and you've done it once incorrectly, you're going to pay for it down the skeletal system, your structural. So again, easy for me to say because I'm a personal trainer as well as a group fitness instructor. When you're starting out any fitness program, start with a trainer. If you can splurge a little bit, get a trainer. Get your first 3 to 5 fitness classes with a trainer one-on-one. Learn the posture, learn the form, have someone spotting you left and right, and then maybe fly on your own. But kettlebell is one that needs to be observed.
How long were you working in the Glenview Park District, or you're still there?
Well, I was, for people who are from Glenview, will get a kick out of the fact that I started teaching at Rugen Center. And I implemented the cardio kickbox class in Glenview through the Park District. And then when the Park District opened 21 years ago, I have been working through the Glenview Park District and worked right through COVID and taught classes. I taught 5 classes a week over there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Like with COVID, do you notice that people were psychologically different, like after like they came out and then like?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I saw, and it really kind of was tough, was weight gain.
Yeah.
It was totally legit. I would get a phone call and say, Kathleen, I swear I've gained 10 pounds. And I would think, oh, well, maybe. And then I'd see them in my own head. I'd think, yep, you have.
Yeah.
And a lot of that had to do with food choice. It had to do with being lethargic, working from your home, never getting out of your chair. A lot of new back injuries, neck issues, tech neck from computer work. So the thing I saw biggest with COVID was weight gain. And then I'm still teaching virtually. I have in-person sessions and I still teach virtually. And there's a handful of people I know who won't go back into group situations based on getting COVID. And
what are your first steps working with a client? Like, do you go in the refrigerator? Do you go shopping with them?
I've never gone shopping with them, although I think I've mentioned this to you before. I have been, I shop Glenview shops like everybody, and I will see people from my classes and they'll turn their cart the other way like, I don't want her to see what I've got in my cart. Yeah. So no, I've never actually gone shopping, but I have gone in a few clients' refrigerators. I don't feel comfortable doing that because I don't live with you. I can't say, don't eat that ice cream, or it's just not realistic. But what I do when I first meet a client is I talk about what they want.
Interesting.
It's not what I want. I don't want you to be able to run a marathon. Do you want to look good for your son's wedding? I'll help you with that. Let's get some arms. I can get very personal. What type of dress are you wearing? Do you want your shoulders buff? Are you wearing tight fitting? I mean, those kind of things as a personal trainer should match personal training. So I don't come in with my own agenda. I let them kind of say to me, this is what I'm looking for. Some of the people I train literally just want to have an extra spot for healthy form and good choices.
Like, how do you work with like kids that are obese or like women that just have kids? Like, how do you psych them up or motivate them?
I try to motivate them by telling them how wonderful they are and that they've got lots to be fit for. And just about the long term. As women get a little bit older, our big thing is we want to look good.
Yes.
Men, sorry guys, men just want to look strong. Women want to look pretty and they want their bodies to be toned. So I even address my male and female clients with a different approach. And the females, I'll say hair, skin, nails, all of those are improved with circulation, mobility, motion. As I said, motion is lotion. So even in our hair, face, and nails, when we work out. And men, I always just talk about let's be powerful, stand tall, kind of direct it that way.
Do you have any advice for high schoolers trying to get into like physical therapy or like fitness training positions?
Keep moving. And a lot of times, the youngest client I've ever had is 10. And one of the things that we did was fun.
Oh, nice.
Hula hoop.
Oh, great.
Jump rope. Fun things for them. Once they're in high school, I'll say get a buddy. Find a friend and walk to school in the morning. Meet somewhere and the two of you walk. I will try really hard to address it with that age group.
Oh, nice. Like, do you ever see like people with eating disorders that like are too skinny or too muscular or just
if
the
I
body
have
pump or
that's not I wouldn't even address it. No, I really wouldn't. That to me is a medical situation, and I would definitely not take that on.
Okay, and how do you like the Glenview area compared to Northbrook?
Glenview's my place. I love it. I have 2 daughters that live here, and my people, or my peeps as we call them, I have a wonderful group of people who've been taking fitness classes with me, some of them for 21 years. So a lot of people, I wouldn't leave Glenview for all the tea in China. I just find it's a very inviting, and I've done some fundraising in Glenview for various organizations, and I love
Oh,
it.
great. Like, what type of charities have you fundraised for?
My number one charity, and we just completed a fundraiser, one of the gentlemen in my class made tie-dye shirts, and it said Kathleen's Peeps, and we sold them, and all the money went to Sarah's Circle, which is a women's shelter in Chicago. That's a big thing I love. I follow them closely.
Oh, great. And how do you like our high school?
How do you not like Glenbrook
Yeah.
South? I mean, I'd love to tell you I thought Glenbrook North was better, but my 3 kids went to South, so I cheer for both.
Oh, nice. Do you have any endeavors of like going like full time in fitness training? Or?
You know, our ages, our active agers are going to be something of the future. We're all getting older, and that is really an amazing transition. As we were younger, we would think by the time you're 55, 60, you stop working out. Well, indeed, it's flipped. And so I would like to see, I feel and I hope, with God willing, that I'll be in the fitness industry for lots of years to come, and I will probably reach out to my active agers to
great.
stay with me.
Thank you again for being in our
Thank
show.
you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank
It's
you.
fun.
Thank you for watching Real People, Real Matters with Diana Tulchinsky. Please join us again.